So here we are. Please follow along with me as I read. Make sure you are in a comfortable position, but you are in an alert position where you're sitting up and following along. I am going to take you through my mental process as we read. I'm going to draw your attention to things that I see as important and strategies that I believe you need that can help you. Let's get started. First thing I notice here, okay, is the title. So a few things. You always want to pay attention to the title and other text features. About as obvious as it can get, but what I see here is green, which is symbolic of life and vitality, strength, and everyone knows how hard it is to how painful it is to fall on the concrete, how hard concrete is, and yet you look around and often you have something like this. Whoops, I don't want that. Hold up. Often you've got something like this. You've got a plant that's growing up through the cracks, and even though concrete is made of stone and sand, it's very hard. You've got this little plant defying the odds, defying adversity, and figuring out how to make it through. Oh. I don't like that. How do I want to get rid of that? There we go. So, first thing I see is those images, and we will continue. The resilient spirit. So the title, and like I said, the graphics are kind of embodying what we are going to be reading about. Resilient, written like it is an adjective describing spirit. The noun form would be the word we talked about already, resilience. That's a noun. That's the noun form of resilient, which is an adjective. Next thing I'm going to look at is this quote here by Ernest Hemingway, who's a very important author. And that is a very important novel that he wrote, A Farewell to Arms. The world breaks everyone, and afterward, some are strong at the broken places. I want you to think about that for a second. If you've ever broken a bone, you've probably heard the doctor tell you that after your broken bone heals, it will be stronger where it was broken, because your body will respond in excess of the issue that it had in the first place. I find it interesting, though, that he's only saying some. If you think about it, not everyone responds to adversity correctly. Not everyone responds to adversity with strength. And so, even as the world breaks everyone, only some are stronger in the broken places. We're going to read about somebody, I'm assuming, that fits that description. Jamira Burley's first memory is from a courtroom where the oldest of her 10 brothers was on trial for murder. During the early years of her life, she spent countless hours in court with her family. By age 15, all of her older brothers and both of her parents had been jailed, many multiple times, leaving her to help raise her 5 younger siblings. She was surrounded by drugs and violence. The odds were stacked against her in nearly every way, and things were about to get worse. Well, we got some foreshadowing here. Things are about to get worse. Let's think about how bad things are. Okay, first of all, This is her first memory. That's terrible. She's got a brother that's been killed. All of her brothers have been arrested. And both of her parents. And this is all by the age of 18. Brothers, parents. And she had to pick up the slack for the people who weren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I want to look at this phrase right here. Odds were stacked against her. Think for a second what that means. Odds is like like betting odds, probability, percentages. How are the odds stacked against her, and why? Well, she's growing up around violence and drugs, in a situation with her where her family isn't really providing for her, and probably not making decisions that are going to look out for her future, and putting her in a situation where she can't even look out for her own future because she has to look out for her other siblings that don't have anyone to look out for them. Now, I can't relate to much of this. I assume some of you can, just based on students I've had in the past. The odds that I have, one student in 140 that has dealt with some of this stuff are pretty high. And anyway, I empathize, I sympathize. This is not a situation that I envy. Moving on to the second paragraph. That same year, in the midst of a domestic violent incident between her brother and a girlfriend, Jamira noticed a gun lying on the counter. Thinking of her younger siblings, she placed it in her waistband to keep it from them. But when police arrived to take statements about the domestic incident, the gun fell out. Jamira was arrested. She spent 48 hours in juvenile detention and, because of her clean record, was granted just a year of monitoring and volunteer work. This could have been a bad mistake, but it was a blessing because I learned valuable lessons. I learned to think things through before acting. I learned that I can't always protect everyone without also protecting myself. What I see here is more of the same from the previous paragraph, domestic violence. Gun laying on the counter. It's ridiculous. What I also see is her natural instincts. She doesn't seem like anybody else was, but she was thinking of her younger siblings, trying to keep them safe. And we see also that even though she's surrounded by violence and drugs, she herself had a clean record, and that benefited her. Even though it probably sucked while she was going through it, she didn't get in a lot of trouble. And like she said, it was a blessing because she learned valuable lessons. Think before acting, and that she's got to protect herself before she be able to protect other people. As I look back at what we talked about already, I'm thinking about this picture right here. Concrete is not living. Concrete is hard and it can be sharp, and it is not gentle. And I think this is a good representation of Jamira, that she is able to thrive or right now survive, but eventually thrive in a situation where there's really nothing around her that would help her to do so. We're going to keep going. If we were in class at this point, you guys would take over. But I'm going to keep going, model this some more, and you will have a reading assignment after we're done with this page. In 2005, after her father was convicted of murder, more of the same, convicted of murder, and one brother was murdered, Jemira reached her breaking point. She chose a different path. She moved in with her aunt and uncle, where she wasn't responsible for raising brothers and sisters and didn't have to worry about scraping up enough money for food. She was the first of her 16 siblings to graduate from high school, then college, but she didn't just save herself. She made it a mission to empower others to escape a life of crime and poverty. I notice this right here. It's a lot of people to look out for. And I can imagine it was difficult for her to be in charge of the younger ones. Here's what I see also that we've seen already, that she is kind of good-natured. She's got a good head on her shoulders. She was looking out for younger siblings up here. She had a clean record, and here we go again. She didn't want to just save herself. She was interested, and she made it a mission to empower others. We see more of that good heart that she has coming through. And we see up here in line 15, the ability to make a decision that can be uncomfortable or can be hard to, what's the word I'm looking for? Uncertain, I guess. There's things that you don't know how they're going to go. That's pretty tough right there to be able to do that as well. Moving on. Jemira found an anti-violence program at her school called the Panther Peace Corps. She wanted to make a tangible difference for the people in her community, addressing the very issues they faced. The Panther Peace Corps reduced violence in school by 30% and received a $50,000 grant to implement the same program at 10 of the most dangerous high schools in Philadelphia. I want to go back. Here's something that you need to do, and it's something that type of strategies you should have while you're reading. I just got to the end of this paragraph and something didn't make sense, and I'm like, I'm not sure what's going on. I misread this word right here. I misread founded. I read it as found, like she went out and found one. She didn't find one. She didn't join one. She founded it. That means she started it. She started that program. Okay. Let's talk about tangible. Anytime we're dealing with vocabulary, we don't want to skip over something that we don't know. Maybe you know what tangible means, maybe you don't. Let's look at our clues here. She wanted to make a tangible difference for the people in her community. So just without very many clues, to me that means like a real difference. Like she really wants to make a difference. And then if I look a little bit further, I see numbers right here. And that can help clue you in to what tangible means if you're already in the right direction. Tangible is like something you can touch almost. It's concrete, not actually concrete. What I mean is it means it's something that you can experience with your senses. You can see it, you can feel it, you can hear it, you can touch it, you can taste it. So we see here the tangible difference that she made in her community of 30% reduction in violence in the schools. And then let's look at implement. Same program. So She received this grant that gave her $50,000 to implement the same program at 10 of the most dangerous high schools in Philadelphia. So, to me, from looking at the context, um, I see before this word that she had success with what she was doing. And after this word, I see that her program is somehow involved in other dangerous high schools. So, implement must mean that she is putting it into effect at these high schools. She is taking her program and plugging it in to these high schools. And that is what it means. She is putting it in place at these schools. After graduation from college, Jamira was chosen by Philadelphia Mayor Michael Nutter to lead the Philadelphia Youth Commission as the youngest executive director in the city's history. 2 years later, she went to work for Amnesty International and now leads their initiative on gun violence, criminal justice, and human rights. Jamira believes that youth advocacy and quality education are key to empowering young people to fight back against trials like poverty and violence. A couple words we need to talk about here. Trials. It's a good church word if you go to church. It doesn't mean something that you are doing. It doesn't mean that it's like it's not being at the courthouse. It's like a struggle. And advocacy is something that we've seen from her so far. Her good side. She wants to look out for others, and she is what she's doing, and she believes that's the type of thing that can help the good things she's doing continue to spread. So this is important. We see excellence from this young lady. As she has made choices to go her own way and choice with a desire to help others, she has been very successful, and that is despite the fact that she was more or less planted in a garden of concrete, metaphorically speaking. Let's continue. Sorry. Let's make sure we don't miss this. Okay. She, in this paragraph, founded a program that was very successful, and she implemented it. She won money to implement it elsewhere because it was so successful. And after that, the mayor of Philadelphia, which is a big city, put her in charge of the Youth Commission. And then after that, she went to work for Amnesty International and leads their initiative on gun violence. Amnesty International is a big, very big organization. So she's a big girl doing big things, and she's one of those people that has used adversity to become more resilient. Here's that quote from Helen Keller. Character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience or trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, vision cleared, ambition inspired, and success achieved. I think it fits very well right here. But moving on, Norman Garmsey researched and taught developmental psychology for 4 decades, primarily studying kids facing hard challenges. He was fascinated by children who seemed to excel, not falter or simply survive, despite terribly difficult circumstances like poverty and neglect. He called this resilience, and he was one of the first psychologists to study it in an experimental setting. Garmsey set up a protocol to identify stressed children who are enduring, even thriving, despite difficult circumstances. Rather than study the negative impacts of stress, Garmezy was one of the first to look at the positives that can result in spite of or because of challenges. He studied protective factors, the mechanisms an individual develops in response to stress that help them succeed. Though his career was cut short by Alzheimer's, his students continued his research. Okay, so I am in a situation now where I've started reading something that has completely changed topics. Well, not completely, but it's different people now. So I'm asking myself, was this the end? Was line 27 the end of this bit about Jamira? And now we're talking about someone else who deals with resilience in youth or in people who have experienced hard circumstances, or is this article going to tie these two together later on? So that's a question I'm going to hold on to for the next page that we will get to later. We've already talked about resilience now many times. And I think mechanisms is probably a word that is somewhat easy, but let's talk about it anyway. Is same word as machine, same root word as machine and mechanic. Okay, it has to do with in this case, a structured response. Could be mental, could be emotional, could be physical, but any type structured response that these individuals that this doctor has studied have put into their lives in order to help them deal with the stress that they have experienced. All right, so that is it for this. We will pick up with this, the resilient spirit, later. I want you to now go to the last link, or one of the last links on your assignment page, and go ahead and read the article or the excerpt, story excerpt at the link there.